This is Mac OS Ken.
Tim Cook testifies, iPhone keeps crushing it, and still more clarification around lossless audio. It is Monday, the 24th of May, 2021. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Headspace. Meditation made simple. Get a free 1-month trial at headspace.com/macosken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macosken. Tim Cook took the stand in the Epic v. Apple trial on Friday. How it went may be a bit of a Rorschach test. The headline from The Verge says Tim Cook's Fortnite trial testimony was unexpectedly revealing, while the headline from Cult of Mac says Tim Cook's hotly anticipated Epic trial testimony is a big nothing burger. An article from TechCrunch took particular issue with Cook's insistence that he didn't know how much money Apple spends annually on research and development, or R&D, aimed at the App Store. Quoting a piece first from VentureBeat, Apple has argued that it spends a lot of money on 150,000 application programming interfaces, store maintenance, security, app reviews, and other platform responsibilities. The 30% fees that Apple charges helps it recover those fees and a return on its intellectual property investment, which Cook said amounted to more than $100 billion since the launch of the iPhone. He noted Apple has never raised its royalty rate since it created it, and he noted that the store would be a toxic mess without reviews. Now we turn to the TechCrunch piece, the headline of which said Cook plays innocent in culminating testimony. Quoting the report, the facade of innocent ignorance began when he was asked about Apple's R&D numbers, $15 to $20 billion annually for the last 3 years. Specifically, he said that Apple couldn't estimate how much of that money was directed toward the App Store because we don't allocate like that, i.e. research budgets for individual products aren't broken out from the rest. While TechCrunch allows that spending on one area might lead to changes in another, that doesn't mean Apple has no idea what it's spending on which front. Quoting that piece again, the differences between a conservative and liberal estimation of the App Store's R&D allocation might be large, in the hundreds of millions perhaps, but make no mistake, those estimations are almost certainly being made internally. To do otherwise would be folly. But the numbers aren't out there, so Cook can plausibly say he doesn't know how much is spent on App Store R&D, no matter how implausible that seems. See also App Store revenue, by the way. Honestly, that one seems even more implausible than not knowing the R&D spending. Now, just about everybody agreed on Friday that the most interesting moments of Cook's appearance involved roughly 10 minutes of questioning from the judge in the case, Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers. During her questioning, says the VentureBeat piece, the judge brought up a survey that found that 39% of Apple's developers were unhappy with Apple. Cook shook that off as he said that Apple rejects 40,000 of the 100,000 apps it gets every week, and that can put it on an adversarial footing with developers. The judge also noted the majority of the revenue for the Apple App Store comes from games, which are monetized through in-app purchases. Apple doesn't charge for a cut of advertising in games and apps, and so those developers don't contribute towards alleviating the costs of running the store. The judge then noted that it seems that Apple is putting the burden of paying for the costs of the store and other investments on the backs of the game developers in a disproportionate way. It's almost as if they're subsidizing everybody else, Gonzalez-Rogers said. And she honestly didn't seem to think that that was fair. Apple CEO pointed out that there are lots of free apps in the App Store. Those free apps attract a lot of users who, once they're in the store, find either paid games or games with in-app purchases. Apple is therefore providing a service. The judge could see that, but she argued once that's done, it's the game that keeps the player, so why should Apple keep getting a cut? I have an answer, but she didn't ask me. It is probably foolish to try to guess how she'll rule based on the exchange. Still, it's difficult not to read into it. As VentureBeat points out, the 10-minute round of questioning was important because Gonzalez-Rogers will decide the case in lieu of a jury. Closing arguments are today, no word on when the judge will rule. That said, an appeal is practically guaranteed, no matter who wins and loses. I'm not sure how it's possible to keep being staggered by iPhone performance, and yet I keep being staggered. I found a release from Counterpoint Research by way of Apple Insider that did the staggering thing. According to the research firm, Apple's iPhone 12 line accounted for 34% of global smartphone revenue in the first quarter of this year. Add in iPhone 11 and iPhone SE, and Apple's phones in the top 10 accounted for 38%. It's possible that iPhone XR would have added one more percentage point, but it's tough to say. The Counterpoint chart only covered the top 10 phones in terms of revenue. The top 3 in terms of revenue were iPhone 12 Pro Max with 12%, iPhone 12 with 11%, and iPhone 12 Pro with 9%. iPhone 12 mini showed up as well. Its 2% of global revenue was enough to put it in 6th place, though, again, only in terms of revenue. I said that iPhone 11 and iPhone SE were on the revenue list as well. They came in at number 4 and number 10, respectively. According to Counterpoint, they were the only 2 phones on the revenue list that are not 5G enabled. In terms of market share, iPhone SE and iPhone 12 mini are not there. Not in the top 10 anyway. For that, you're looking at iPhone 12 with 5%, followed by iPhone 12 Pro Max in second with 4%, iPhone 12 Pro in third with 3%. Apple's final phone on the top 10 list in terms of volume, iPhone 11, came in at 4th with a 2% share. As for the differences between those lists, the way Apple Insider sees it, iPhone 12 mini's appearance on the top 10 for revenue but not for market share means cheaper smartphones sold in much greater volumes to Apple's entry models. Come to think of it, that works for iPhone SE as well. Still, remember when people said underperformance for iPhone 12 mini was proof that Apple should never make small phones again? That was funny. Barclays analyst Tim Long has given his Apple target a bit of a trim. The Fly ran a short summary of a note Long wrote last week. While he is generally positive on Apple services, those are his words, generally positive, he thinks growth will slow for the next couple of years thanks to the huge growth Apple services have seen around COVID-19. Looking ahead, he's worried about App Store pricing. He's also concerned that sweet, sweet deal where Google pays Apple boatloads of money to be its default search engine may be wrecked by regulators. With those concerns expressed, Long kept his rating of equal weight on Apple shares. He also shaved his 12-month price target from $138 to $134. If you're having trouble keeping up with where we are on OS betas, I feel you. And I'm here for you. Apple Insider ran a piece Friday saying that the second release candidate betas of iOS 14.6 and iPadOS 14.6 were out to developers. Not being part of the public beta program, I can't say whether it's out to that crowd yet. Doesn't seem to have been on Friday, though. The Apple Insider piece pointed out that the public betas typically arrive within a few days of the developer versions. One imagines it will arrive very soon, if it hasn't already. More news in a moment, but first a word from Headspace. Meditation made simple. Wouldn't it be neat if there were a pocket-sized guide that helped you sleep better, focus better, feel better? There is. And if you have 10 minutes, Headspace can make it happen. Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app. Meditations cover the kinds of things you might expect: dealing with stress, dealing with anger. And they cover the kinds of things that might surprise you, like mindfulness around eating or mindfulness around money. There are programs to help you succeed and programs to help you sleep, and it's all as close as your phone. I really appreciated the walking meditations, the SOS meditations, and the basics program so far. Whether you're looking to build on the basics, deal with a particular issue, or just looking for SOS meditations to pull you out of a mood, the growing Headspace library makes it easy for you to build a life-changing meditation practice with mindfulness that works for you on your schedule, anytime, anywhere. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/macOSKen. That's headspace.com/macOSKen for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. This is the best deal offered right now. Head to headspace.com/macOSKen today. In the wake of all of the lossless audio talk from last week, I'm reminded of an exchange from an episode of All in the Family. The thrust of the conversation: the problem with slapping new and improved on a product is that it makes people who can't have that product think that what they have instead is old and rotten. I've seen more than a few tech snobs and more than a few audio snobs taunt people who feel hosed by not having lossless audio from Apple after having purchased hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of dollars worth of Apple gear over the years. I bought your headphones. You're planning superior audio. Why don't your headphones play your superior audio? Personally, I don't care, but I understand why people are upset. All of that said, Apple has done what it should have done in the first place. Explained exactly what will get the lossless audio and what won't, and why. 9to5Mac has revelations from Apple's support page, which has at least a little good news. HomePod and HomePod Mini will get lossless audio. According to Apple, HomePod and HomePod Mini currently use AAC to ensure excellent audio quality. Support for lossless is coming in a future software update. I don't know about you, but I look forward to not being able to tell the difference. As for everything else, we've been over Apple's wireless headphones, the Beats and the various AirPods. Bluetooth connections don't support lossless audio, Apple explains. As for the wire one can use for AirPods Max, still no. While they'll still deliver exceptional audio quality in Apple's words, given the analog to digital conversion in the cable, the playback will not be completely lossless. And as long as we're poking the bear, the piece has Apple clarifying that broadcast radio, live radio, on-demand content from Apple Music One, and music videos won't support lossless audio. iTunes purchases also cannot be downloaded again in lossless, as it's only available for the Apple Music catalog. Basically, some stuff might sound better to some people with certain equipment in certain situations. For most people, it's going to be the same sound it's been. At least you won't be charged more for imagining superior sound. Hey, Apple's not the only one playing music, you know. They're not even the only one playing music on Apple devices. For example, take Spotify. Please! TechCrunch has word of a new trick Spotify can do. On Friday, the piece says Spotify announced offline listening for audio on Apple Watch, reserved for premium subscribers. TechCrunch says the new feature works more or less like standard downloading and sharing. Users click the 3 ellipses next to an album, playlist, or podcast and click Download to Apple Watch. Once downloaded, green arrows will populate next to the title. With headphones paired, users will be able to stream directly from the watch. While new to Apple Watch users, the feature is fast on its way to becoming standard for smartwatches and other music services too. Offline Spotify playback is already available on Samsung's Galaxy Watch line, according to the piece. It's also on the way for watches running Google Wear OS. As for competition from the sound side, TechCrunch says Pandora and Deezer already offer offline listening on Apple Watch. And finally today, 10 years is an exceptional run for a piece of consumer electronics, but all good things. A piece from Mac Rumors says Apple has deemed the second-generation iPad obsolete worldwide. Kind of insane that it wasn't already, but still. Focusing on its features, Mac Rumors says the second-generation iPad included an updated design that was 33% thinner than the original iPad. The new iPad also sported new capabilities, including a front-facing camera for FaceTime calls, a gyroscope, and an updated dual-core A5 processor, twice as fast as the original iPad and up to 9 times faster in graphics. The iPad was also offered in both white and black models. Announced and launched in March of 2011, iPad 2 hit Apple's vintage and obsolete list a couple of years ago. That made it obsolete in most countries, though vintage in Turkey and the US. Local law in those countries requires Apple to keep supporting devices until 7 years after they're off the market. And apparently iPad 2 hit that this week. Now, you didn't ask, but I'll tell you anyway. I have a surprising number of feels around this obsolescence. First, it was the last iPad introduced by Steve Jobs, who would pass away later that year. Also, it came out the same day the 2011 earthquake and tsunami hit Japan, leading to the meltdown at the nuclear plant in Fukushima. I remember standing in line for an iPad and feeling bad that I wasn't giving all of that money to charities dealing with the disaster. I did donate, though, so, that's something. Anyway, iPad 2 is obsolete now, unable to receive any hardware service from Apple or its service providers, according to Mac Rumors. Once the height of technology, today it might be good for art or, who knows, maybe a drinks tray. Coming up in a few minutes, Parallel host Shelley Brisbane got my attention on Twitter last week, commenting on Apple's Global Accessibility Awareness Day announcements. We'll talk about the messages and the messaging. The show is called In a Few Minutes. Find it and listen wherever you find and listen to podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Headspace. Meditation made simple. Get a free 1-month trial at headspace.com/macOSCan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Wow, what an amazing day.